The races you mentioned, Washington, Patty Murray wins by 14 points.
Shazam. And Republicans thought they were going to win.
New Hampshire, Maggie Hassan wins by 10 points.
Wow.
And in the race we're about to talk to you about, Michael Bennet wins by 12 points. That's the Colorado Senate race. Democratic incumbent Michael Bennet projected by NBC News to defeat Republican challenger Joe O'Dea by a wide margin. Bennet took to the stage last night to celebrate the win and to reject the former president's vision for America.
We have to give people a sense of economic opportunity again. And this is what I talked about on the trail in red parts of the state and blue parts of the state. And that's because when people lose a sense of opportunity for themselves and their families, that's when inevitably, in human history, somebody shows up and says, I alone can fix it. You don't need a democracy. You don't need the rule of law. You should expect your public sector and your private sector to be hopelessly corrupt, hopelessly bankrupt. That is the dark vision that Donald Trump ran for president on. That is the dark vision that he won on. And tonight, Colorado is rejecting that vision.
And rejected it handily. Senator Bennet joins us now. Senator, good morning. Good to see you.
He's getting a big round of applause.
I'm really glad I wore a different tie today than last night. It's great to see you.
It's good to see you. Senator, let's talk about your race. Interesting opponent in Joe O'Dea, who tried to distance himself from former President Trump on issues like same-sex marriage and abortion rights, and also on the 2020 election conspiracies. In fact, he was attacked last night after you won handily by President Trump for not going along more closely with the election conspiracy. So what was at the center of your race? What decided this, and how did you win by so much?
I think what was at the center of the race was a rejection of 40 years of a Washington consensus of trickle-down economics that Colorado wants to reject. We have one of the most dynamic economies in America, but people are killing themselves and they can't afford housing or health care or higher education or early childhood education. They know we have the worst income inequality that we've had in a century. They know that we're the richest country in the world, but we've got the third highest rate of childhood poverty. So even before the inflation that they were dealing with here, they already were in an economy that was really raging against them. They knew that my opponent wanted to go to Washington to make the Trump tax cuts permanent. They knew that I wanted to go to Washington to reverse the Trump tax cuts for the wealthy and to pass my two bills with Sherrod Brown to give working people the biggest tax cuts that they've had in generations. And that is a huge distinction in the race. And it's what, I ran on from the first moment that I started to run for re-election until, the speech that you played last night.
So, Senator, congratulations on your win. I'm curious, to Reverend Al's point, what's the work ahead for the Democratic Party when it comes to trying to unify the country and fight disinformation, conspiracy theories, extremism, and even kind of the cruelty that we're seeing coming from Republican leaders who still follow Donald Trump?
I think that first of all, I believe last night nationally what we saw was an incredible rejection of Donald Trump and a rejection of chaos and an endorsement of progress. We have made over the last 2 years very significant progress. Certainly in the time that I've been there, more progress. Bipartisan infrastructure bill, bipartisan postal reform bill, bipartisan gun bill, bipartisan veterans bill, bipartisan bill, the first bill to bring back an industry from Southeast Asia, and then a really important energy and climate and healthcare bill that Democrats passed on their own. And I think at least people in Colorado, and I would say across the country, want to see that kind of progress in their exercise in self-government, not the chaos that Trump represented. I think Democrats need to stand for creating an economy that when it grows for everybody, not just the people at the very top. And I think if we do that, we're going to be able to win these races that are really hard to win, and we're going to be able to create an enduring majority. I think it's amazing that we're as close as we are in Wisconsin, amazing that we won in Pennsylvania, incredible that we could still hold on to the majority. I think all of that would have been even easier if we had actually reversed the Trump tax cuts, 52% of which went to the top 5% of Americans, and and as I said, extended the tax cuts that I've written with Sherrod Brown and others. Yeah. And it's important. It goes to your question about our democracy, because when people, as I said last night, when people lose a sense of opportunity for themselves and their families, that's when somebody shows up and says, I alone can fix it. You don't need a democracy. I think the way we overcome these conspiracy theorists is by delivering both freedom and opportunity as a party, and I think we can do that because the Republicans have given up on both. They've given up on opportunity because they've stood with trickle-down economics. They've given up on freedom because their policies and their politics resulted in this country being stripped of the first fundamental constitutional right, the first fundamental constitutional freedom since Reconstruction.
All right, Democratic Senator Michael Bennet of Colorado. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Guys. Great to see you.
It's great to see you, too.